Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Christy here. I am putting out a follow-up video to my Tineco S5 Extreme video. This will be a video of pros, cons, some pro tips that I've learned now that I've had my Tineco S5 Extreme for a little over 2 months, I guess. A video I probably wish that I would have watched before I purchased the vacuum, because it is really expensive and I'm not sure, knowing some of these things, that I would have purchased the vacuum in the long run. If you're new here, I just wanted to introduce myself. My name's Christy. I post mom videos, life videos, unboxing videos, life videos, review videos. My channel's still pretty new, so if you wouldn't mind liking and subscribing or sharing, commenting, anything to interact with this video, I'd really appreciate it. It's free and it helps my very small channel. If you watch my previous video, you can tell when I unboxed the Tineco S5 Extreme, I was 100% on board the Tineco train. When I unboxed, I was super happy with the durability of how premium the vacuum felt. And the first few times I used it, I was absolutely in love with it. Like I mentioned a little bit earlier, I didn't do a whole bunch of research before I purchased the vacuum. I heard vacuum, mop at the same time, and I thought, holy cow, this is gonna save me a bunch of time. So I didn't do a whole bunch of research before I purchased it. So some of these things probably could have been prevented on my part, but you live and learn. What I want to talk about is the soap/cleaner that the Tineco came with. I've had the vacuum for about 2 months and we're only about halfway through the amount of cleaner that it came with. But the good thing about this is that it has a very pleasant scent. My husband is someone who's sensitive to scents. So we kind of have to be careful with what we use in the house because it'll give him a headache. But also on top of that, I have, small children. I have a cat that could be sensitive to scents. I don't know if Burger is or not, but whatever. It's nice to know that it's not like a scent that's going to overwhelm anybody or make somebody feel sick after you use the cleaner. And that's really nice. The only time you really smell this, I found though, is when you're pouring it into the cap to put it into the clean water tank. Other than that, I don't really smell this after I use the vacuum or when I'm emptying the dirty water tank or anything like that, which I think is a pro. Another pro of the vacuum is that it does a good job actually doing what it's supposed to do. I've encountered coffee stains on my light colored floor that have happened throughout the day and it's dried up or it's sticky, and I'll let the roller go over top of it, and sometimes I'll even move the vacuum back and forth so it has a little bit more of an abrasion, I guess, against whatever's on the floor, and it does a great job at picking it right up without having to go over it multiple times or really have to put some elbow grease in it that I would have to with a regular mop. I do want to mention that while it picks up stains really well, it doesn't do the best job with hair or cat hair in that matter. It'll pick it up, but sometimes you have to go back a little bit to pick up additional hair that it missed. It'll kind of get the hair all wet and then spit it out. But it doesn't do it all the time, just enough that it's annoying. And both me and my stepdaughter have fairly long hair, so sometimes our hairs kind of get stretched out in the wetness of the mop as it's going. So we do have to redo those sections, and that's just something that I feel like you should know about before you purchase the vacuum. It has 2 modes for vacuuming. For instance, on my laminate floors when I'm vacuuming, and then I have a rug in my bedroom that I've gone over my rug with it and it detects that and changes the way that it's cleaning, which is really nice. It didn't saturate the rug or anything like that. Now granted, it is a very low pile rug. It's one of those washable rugs, but it still did a great job cleaning it. It didn't leave the rug soaking or anything like that, and it gave it a nice quick clean that I didn't have to pop it in the wash machine or dryer. Another pro is that the charging base, which I'll show you guys in a minute, pretty much has a spot for everything, which is really nice. If you like to be organized and everything has a spot, that's a pro. Another pro is the self-cleaning mode. After you go ahead and you dock the vacuum on the docking base or the charging base, it says like cleaning mode activated, or like figuring out whether to use the cleaning mode, and then it'll take some of the clean water that's in the clean water tank and run it through the vacuum, kind of cleans the roller, the tubes, and then it dumps all that into the dirty water tank. And that's really convenient because, you know, the next time you go to use the vacuum, it's, you know, it's cleaner. Okay, so we talked about the pros of the Tineco S5 Extreme, so let's talk about the cons. And I don't want to be like a negative Nancy, but I feel like the cons, for me at least, kind of outweigh the pros of the vacuum. So let's just dive right into it. So the first con that I discovered is that you have to clean this vacuum after every single use. Unless you like the smell of old hot dog water, because that's kind of what it smells like. If you do not empty this vacuum after every single use, it stinks like bad. One night I had used it, got sidetracked, and I didn't end up emptying it until the next day. And when I came downstairs, my whole kitchen smelled terrible. We actually keep it like off to the side, plugged in, like right off my kitchen, and my whole kitchen stunk really bad. So when I say empty it, I leave the clean water in the clean water tank most of the time. Unless there's just like a little bit left, I will get rid of it. But what I mean when I say empty it, here I have the dirty water tank. You have to take this off the vacuum. It comes right off the front. Then you need to take out the filter. Okay, this typically has like hair and stuff in it. So you rinse it out, both sides, and you gotta let this dry because you can't like close it up because it'll get musty. So then you take, let's see if I can do this. It's like really awkward. You gotta like, so then you'll have this part that comes out, and you have to rinse and clean this part because there will be crumbs and all types of yucky stuff underneath there. You have to obviously empty your dirty water tank. This will be filled with like gross water. So you have to empty that out. So you'll empty out your dirty water tank. And then this is kind of like a crumb catcher in here. In fact, ew, there's a crumb right there. You have to pull this out, rinse this off too, because there'll be crumbs on both sides, including inside of there. And that's all just after you've cleaned your whole house, or, you know, all your floors, whatever you're cleaning up. And to me, I feel like that's a lot. Okay. I feel like that's way more that I would have to do than if I just like vacuumed and then I mopped with an old school like mop that you like wring out. Like for me, I feel like that's a lot. And I remember telling my husband after I discovered I had to do all this, I was like, that's a lot. I don't have time for that. This was supposed to save me time, not have me do extra things after I just mopped the house. Okay, now that we've talked about just tank maintenance after you use the vacuum, here's some other things you'll have to clean before you can continue on with the rest of whatever you have to do. So, ooh, God, my knees are cracking. That was embarrassing. So a lot of the times there'll be hair and stuff like stuck in this tube that I'll have to pull out, and that's really gross. On top of that, so it doesn't smell musty, you have to remove this part and pop this roller off and let that dry. And when you do that, let me see if I can just pop it off real quick. Okay, and this wasn't cleaned. I'd left it uncleaned after the last time I used it because I wanted you to see what I was talking about. So look at all like the gunk and just hair, like cat hair that builds up on the roller. On top of that, oh, back fell off. Look at all of that. So typically to avoid that, I will take a wet paper towel or a towel that has some like all-purpose cleaner on it, and I'll run it across this, and I'll run it across this when I'm done using the vacuum. Also, you'll want to dry off of this after it sits, because sometimes water will drip out and it'll start to smell as well. So, I mean, I feel like that's a lot to do when this was something that was supposed to make my life easier. Also, while we're right here, this is the charging base. It's really nice because it has a place for everything. So typically, you know, I'll put the vacuum down, and then for the roller that I want to dry, I'll put it right there. I'll put the filter here so it can, you know, it can dry, but typically I'll leave it open. This is a clean one. And the vacuum just goes right there and charges. Another con I want to talk about is we got our floors replaced about like 2 weeks after I got the Tineco vacuum. And I was really excited after we got the floors replaced because there was like a fine dust everywhere from them cutting, you know, materials, you know, just dust from underneath where we had carpet. So I was really excited to use the Tineco because I was like, I'm gonna vacuum, mop, all in one. This is gonna be great. The house will finally be like clean again. But what I found is that as the roller was moving, it was taking that dust and like caking it up and then randomly spitting it out as I was trying to use the vacuum. And that was really disheartening to the point where I was like, I just want to return this vacuum. Like, this is not worth the money. And of course, we were about 2 days outside of our return policy with Best Buy. So then I was like, I had to change my mindset and be like, I'm going to use this vacuum. I'm going to get my money's worth for this, and I'm going to figure out how to love it. So with that said, and that experience, I would not recommend this vacuum to clean up like dirty jobs that are like really fine debris, like a lot of dust or something like that. I don't think that's what this is meant for. Another con I feel like that is worth mentioning is that it's actually kind of loud. I've tried using it after I put my baby to sleep before, and it has woken her up after I put her to sleep. And it would be nice if it was just a little bit quieter. That way, you know, after the babies are put to sleep for the night, you can still like do a little cleanup and do what you need to do. And unfortunately, it's not quiet at all. I know we've already talked about this cleaner here. And while I do like the scent and that you don't really have to use a ton, I think it's literally just a capful for the entire clean water tank. It is really expensive. It's $25 from Tineco. I'm not sure how much it is from Amazon. Earlier today, when I was planning on recording this video, I did look it up, and Tineco has a sale going on for 50% off right now. But you can only use Tineco's cleaner with the vacuum. And I know that because my husband thought it was just Tineco trying to force you to buy just their cleaner to make more money. And he used a little bit of Pine Sol in the clean water tank, and while it cleaned, it made a whole bunch of foam. So he had to empty the dirty water tank multiple times really quickly when you normally don't have to empty it that often while you're actively vacuuming. So it must be like there's like a low suds material in here. I guess that's what you can call it. But this is expensive. Already on top of my last con here, which is the vacuum is really expensive. Not everybody can afford it, and that's why I think it's important to do your research beforehand, because when you're going to buy something big like this, you need to kind of know all aspects. My pro tip for owning the S5 Extreme, or probably any of the Tineco vacuums, is to make sure you're properly cleaning them after each use, so you kind of avoid that old hot dog water smell that I was talking about earlier. In my case, I spray the parts down with like all-purpose cleaner, and every once in a while I'll take the roller and just straight up dip it in like some type of all-purpose cleaner, like, you know, like a Mr. Clean, a Pine Sol, what's another one, Fabuloso, just to make sure that it smells a little bit better when you go to use it. If you learned anything from this video, or if you have any questions, please feel free to comment down below. Please like, comment, subscribe. It means a lot to me. It's totally free, and it helps out my small channel. And I just really hope that this helps somebody make a good decision before they purchase something. All right, that's all for me. See you on the next one. See ya.